Hey, what's happening, everybody? I'm a little under the weather today, so I decided I'm going to make a video. Um, I'm just putting a disclaimer out there. I'm going to be processing an animal, specifically a rooster. So if you're squeamish or you're vegan or whatever, this probably isn't the video you're going to want to watch, or if you have kids and you don't want them watching it. So I'm just letting you know up front. But anyways, I'm going to go into some detail here, and this is a bit of a different method because I'm actually removing the skin from the chicken. I'm not using a plucker. So that being said, here we go. All right, folks. So in addition to building this super long flood tray table here, it's I get to put the liner in later. I got to process some roosters, you got to add that to the queue. And this is my third one of the day. I had to do, I take breaks. I kill them and then I let them bleed out. And then now I got to do the processing of it. So, okay, so this is a good place to interject. To kill the roosters, the way I do it is I take a BB gun. I go in there at nighttime. I get them behind the head. They don't even see it coming. They'll flop around for a bit, but after that, they're done. And then what I do is I chop their heads off and I put them upside down in a bucket. I have a little cone that goes in there and it kind of holds them in place and just let them drain overnight. Right now we have freezing temperatures, so you can keep it outside as long as you don't have predators that are going to get them. But the only real critique of that method is that they flop around a bit. So if you're worried about the bruising of the meat, you probably want to go with the normal kill cone. But that's the method I use. And the way I'm doing it is I got to remove the skins. We don't have a plucker, and honestly, we don't really eat skin on our chicken very often, anyways. So skinning it's not a big deal. It's just the same as any other animal, really. When it just a little bit messier with the feathers. But yeah, this is my setup here for that. It's a nice stainless steel table. This is probably the best way to do it. If you get a stainless steel table, you're good to go. They're just easy to clean and they're a lot more sanitary. But I always have a pot here with some water, a rag, a little bit of bleach in there. Got my knife set, just your basic, got your little fillet knife, got a couple other ones. I actually use my box cutters more than anything, honestly. I use these a lot, and I just got my razors over there. Pair of scissors, you'll use it to cut some of the feathers off to get to the skin. And then this sucker comes in handy too. This is just a little clipper. They're not game snips, but basically they're the same kind of thing. But they have a little bit of serrated edge to them, and they're good for cutting through the bones and the joints and that kind of thing. But then, of course, your sharpener. So, yep, that's what I'm going to be doing, folks. I got one last one to go, and then I think I'll be done doing this for at least about a week. I'm not going to kill any more chickens for a bit. I got 5 right now in the fridge and the freezer, so I don't really need any more. But just wanted to share the journey with you guys. Okay, so I'm going to be doing a lot of freezing here. So this here, what I'm doing is I'm just chopping off the feet. It's really simple. You get around the base of where the feathers meet the leg there, and then all you're gonna do is just move it around. You'll feel a little bone in there, and I take my box cutters, I go around it and remove the feather area, and then I just take those snips that I showed you, and then you can just get right in there and snip them off. It's really quite simple. All right, so right at the base of the wings here, where the wings meet the body, you'll feel like a flap of skin under there. And what I'm doing is I take my box cutters here and I'm gonna cut those tendons and stuff and all that tissue around there basically, and you're gonna get to a joint bone there and you'll feel it. And what you're gonna do then is you're gonna take the snippers after you've cut that off, and then you're just gonna snip right at that joint and these wings will come right off. Now I'm going to be saving these wings, preserving them, so that's what I'm doing with those. And there's really hardly any meat in there, just so you know. All right, right here, all I'm doing is taking a pair of scissors and trimming off some of those fluffy feathers so I can get to the stomach area to make my incision. You don't have to do this. I just prefer to do it because it gets a little messy, and I just go over a bucket and cut those off, okay? So once I do that, I'm going to make a slight incision into the stomach area. You want to pinch the skin and then slice it. Be very careful, otherwise you're going to go right into the guts, and that could be a problem for you, contaminating your meat. Once you do that, you literally just start ripping back the skin, and you can peel it all the way around the bird until you get to the tail area. All right, so a couple things to mention here. You can see once I get my fingers in there, I can peel that skin up all the way around the bird. It comes off real easily. But you're going to go around. When you get to the front area there, you're going to see here that bump and that big lump on the front. That's called the crop. And what that is, that's an area where the chickens store their food and stuff. So you want to be careful there. It can get a little messy if you cut into that, but if you do it nice and delicate, you shouldn't have any problems with that. And you'll see that I'm actually going to end up pulling that off. It's actually just held on by a membrane and then a little bit of tissue, and you can chop that crop right off. And then when you peel the skin, you're going to go all the way around, and then you're going to get to the tail. Now the tail is held on by a little bit of tissue, and what I do after I peel it all the way back to that tail area, I will just take my box cutters once again, and I'm just going to make a nice incision. You'll feel it, and you can just cut that tail right off. And if you did it right and you didn't rip the skin, you'll have that skin almost completely preserved with the tail intact, and then you can preserve that skin if you want. So that's what I do. Okay, so once you got all the feathers off, hopefully it went well for you, but once you have all those off, what you're going to do is you're going to take the legs and you're going to pull them apart like this, all right? Now at this point, you're going to see all the connective tissue, and you're going to be able to just take your fillet knife and you're just going to be able to slice those legs, those back thighs off. And what you do is you're going to run your knife at the base of the carcass, and you'll feel you can just slice off all that meat until you're going to get to the bone, the joint. And then once you get to that joint, you actually can just pull the legs right off. You don't need to cut it all. So you see what I'm doing it right here. Boom. And that's it for that part. All right, so the next part is where the wing meets the body. Now, if you did this right, you only cut off the very tip part of the wing meat, so there's not much meat in there at all. And then this is going to be like a little tiny little drumstick here that you're going to just cut all the way around till you feel the joint, and once again, it'll come right off. So this part here is where you get to practice your fillet skills with your fillet knife. You want to make sure your knife is nice and sharp. There's a couple ways you can do this. You can start at the breastplate. You'll see that breastbone running all the way down the center of the bird there. And what you do is you're going to take your knife and you're just going to run it, literally scraping it right against there. And that's the breast meat. And you're going to do that on both sides. And if you did it right, you do it nice and slow, you will see that there is now the chicken tender, which is widely regarded as probably the best part of a chicken. That's debatable, but there's that nice, beautiful strip of meat there that you'll see underneath there, and that's right at the breastbone. So then you're going to take your knife and you're going to cut that sliver off as well. All right, so at this point, you're left with the main part of the carcass. Now, you probably noticed that I didn't have to remove any of the entrails. Now, if you want the heart or the liver, you can do that. You can take out all those parts.
It's real easy to do. In fact, if you wanted to keep the whole chicken together, when you get to the point where you make that incision into the stomach there, once you've removed all of the feathers, then you're going to go back and just simply slice a little bit deeper into the stomach cavity area with your knife pointed away from the gut so you don't cut into the intestines. Then you're going to just take your hand in there and you're going to just pull all that stuff out nice and slow, and you just have to scrape on the inside of the ribs and you can get it all out. So if you wanted to roast the bird or something like that with no skin on it, you can do it that way. I'm not doing it that way here because we're feeding this carcass to our dogs. Now, if you don't have dogs and you don't want to do it this way, that's fine. I'm not going to debate people on feeding bones to dogs because I'm fine with it, and my dogs are not that delicate, and it's completely fine to do. But if you don't want to do it that way, you could remove the entrails, like I said, and then you could actually take that chicken, make sure you remove the crop, of course. But once you did that, you would have that main part of the carcass of the bird, and you could put that in a stew. You could just basically melt the rest of the meat off the bones if you want to do it that way. But like I said, I'm feeding it to my dogs. It replaces their dog food, and none of it goes to waste. I'm saving everything. So to give you a recap, once I chopped the head off, I gave the head to my dogs. They eat the head. Then I remove all of the feathers with the skin. That will be preserved. I will go into that in a separate video. The feet will be also dried out and given to the dogs as treats. And the remaining part of the carcass will also go to my dogs, which they will also eat. So none of this bird went to waste, folks. All right, so you can see the final result right here. It's delicious, and that's the end of this video. So if you like the video, give it a like. Please subscribe, spread the word. I'll try to make more like this in the future. Thanks for watching.